Hello and welcome to another Reddit reading video. My name is Taylor, and we are reading from r/idontworkherelady. Our first story is from bitterleg9473. I have worked in retail and customer support most of my life, and like to joke that instead of RBF, I have resting "how can I help you" face. I am forever being mistaken for an employee of basically every department store, warehouse store, and big box store ever. It's a running gag with my family. I also have people-pleasing tendencies and am used to helping customers, so most of the time it's a non-issue and I do it out of reflex. And people eventually realize they just asked another customer, laugh, and apologize. But the one instance that really sticks out to me and infuriates me even years later is this one. I figured this sub would appreciate it. A few years back, my grandmother passed away. She had been ill for a while, then caught COVID and had a stroke. It was hard on everybody, particularly my mum and aunt, but ultimately a relief because we knew she wasn't suffering anymore. We had a very small graveside service with immediate family. I was wearing black trousers, a black cashmere turtleneck, pearls, and a black pea coat. It was winter in Montreal, cold and snowy, and about halfway through the service, I realized one of my winter boots had a hole in it. I ignored it for as long as possible, and as soon as I got back in the car with my folks, I told them what had happened, so we made a pit stop at Walmart because I needed something cheap and fast before we continued on with our day. Now, keep in mind, I'm still wearing all black. I'm a snotty, red-faced mess from crying and standing outside in below freezing temps, and very clearly not in my right mind. I mean, makes sense, you're grieving. I am trying on boots, and so are like 4 or 5 other people because this is the first big snow of the year, and despite all living in Canada, none of us properly prepared for this, apparently. As I'm bending down to try a pair on, this dude in roughly his late 50s, so maybe 15 years my senior, asks me to pass him his size in a pair of winter work boots. I'm on autopilot, and they're relatively close to me, so without thinking, I just hand him the box. Big mistake. He starts asking for several other pairs, saying one doesn't fit, asking me to move so he can see what's behind me, etc., etc. At this point, the other people in the aisle are looking at me with concern because even though they don't exactly know what's going on, they can see that I clearly don't work at Walmart, and I'm frazzled and upset. I quietly just say, I'm trying stuff on. He's welcome to reach over and help himself. At which point he starts yammering about useless employees and saying he should complain to a manager. I just look up at him and go, I don't work here. I just buried my grandmother. I need boots. I kid you not, he just looks up and down and goes, well, I just thought, the way you're dressed. And then proceeds to look off on his own and mutter about how unhelpful people are nowadays. Because yes, all of the Walmarts I've ever been to sure have all black semi-formal as their employee uniform. Dude, really? When he's like, the way you're dressed? I'm just like, oh yes, funeral attire. The bright, cheery uniform of a Walmart worker. We've all seen it. Also, when the OP says, big mistake, it reminds me of a time when I got a comment, not on this channel, but on a different YouTube channel I have. I had posted some video about something interesting, and one of the comments was, big mistake, boy. And I don't know, in my own head, it's a running inside joke, I guess, with me, myself, and I. And every time I think about myself messing up, it pops in my head, big mistake, boy. I don't even know why the guy would comment that. I don't know. I just found it funny, even though he was obviously trolling. Our next story is from Bell Priority. This happened last weekend at a mattress store. I was there to test out mattresses for myself because my old one is a wooden board at this point. I was lying on this memory foam mattress, just enjoying the peace, when an older couple walked up to me and started asking questions. The husband goes, "Excuse me, does this one come in a queen size? And how much is the delivery charge?" I sat up and said, "I don't work there," but he just kept talking to me like he didn't hear me. His wife added, "We're also looking for something firm for his back problems." Okay, this couple walks into Mattress Firm or wherever, and they see someone just like taking a little nap, just literally laying, almost sleeping on a mattress in the mattress store. And they walk up and they think, that person looks like a professional sleeper right there. They must work here. They must know about mattresses because obviously they're laying on them all day. At this point, I just gave up on correcting them and just started answering their questions based on common sense. I told them most mattresses come in multiple sizes and delivery charges usually depend on distance, so they should ask at the counter. I even pointed at a firmer looking mattress a few rows down and said, "It looks sturdy," since I had tried it myself minutes ago. They seemed really happy with my answers, and the husband said, "You've been more helpful than anyone else here today." I laughed a little inside because I hadn't done much except for state the obvious. A few minutes later, an actual employee walked over, noticing I had been helping customers. I expected him to be annoyed, but instead he smiled and said, "Looks like you just made me a sale." Turns out the couple went straight to him and told him they wanted the mattress I pointed at. Before I left, he handed me a small discount coupon for my own purchase and said, "Consider this a thank you for the unofficial customer service." I walked out with a mattress at a lower price and a weirdly proud feeling about accidentally being good at a job I don't have. And let that be a lesson to you, everybody, whether this story is true or fake. It just goes to show, always be nice to people and always be helpful, and you just might make money. Our next story is from Pale Rush 8177. This was last year on a Saturday. I had just finished work and stopped at Walmart. I had just finished work and stopped at Walmart on the way home, still wearing my plain blue polo. No logo, no name tag, just a blue shirt because I own blue shirts. I was in the cereal aisle, good aisle to be in, when a woman walked up and asked me where the Worcestershire sauce was. I told her that I don't work here, but it's probably near the ketchup. She nodded and walked away, and I thought that was that. 2 aisles later, she appeared next to me again and asked if we carry the large cans of crushed tomatoes. I reminded her again that I really don't work here. She looked at my shirt, then back at me and went, "Okay, but do you know though?" At this point, I just walked with her to the condiments section because honestly, it was faster than explaining myself again. Found the tomatoes, found the Worcestershire sauce, pointed at both. She went, "See, you did know," and walked off like she had won something. An actual Walmart employee in a full vest and name tagged watched this whole thing happen from the end of the aisle and gave me the most sympathetic look I had ever received from a stranger. Yeah, because that Walmart worker has seen things. Walmart PTSD is real. I avoid wearing blue on weekends now, not even exaggerating. It's always nice to help people, like, especially if you know where things are, but I don't get why people just assume that people are entitled to help them. I don't know. Our next story is from Midnight Streetlight. Years ago, I went to music lessons at a store where they required students to wear a lanyard with "student" and the name of your instrument on it. I was 12 years old, and for context, I was frequently mistaken for being 10 years old. I was small for my age and had chubby cheeks and braces. I was hanging around the store after my lesson, waiting for my ride, when this older couple walked up to me. The old man asked me if I could get a guitar down off the wall for him. I said, sure, because I absolutely loved to be helpful. He points to one in the uppermost row. They have the forbidden rolling orange stairs like at Home Depot right next to where he's pointing, but I told him I don't think I'm allowed to go up there. Yeah, if you've ever been to Guitar Center or wherever, those guitars, they get up there. I'm a short guy. I can't even reach the top ones. Holy self-report. Also, this kid looks 10 years old, and you're telling him to go up to the top? What is with people? He became very upset with me, and he and his wife both kept demanding that I go get the guitar while I kept refusing. Bro, get the guitar yourself, man. They just called me lazy and stupid for not doing my job and saying I should be fired. I'm also trying to tell them I'm just a kid, but they insist my lanyard is a part of a uniform. Somehow they missed that, in a stunning display of tween fashion, I had matched a Captain America shirt with a Hello Kitty skirt and yellow Crocs. It was my favorite outfit, which is not the uniform of anyone, literally anywhere. So this couple is still yelling at me, and I'm freaking out because I was always told to respect my elders, but they've got me literally backed into a corner, and they won't believe what I'm telling them. So this employee heard the shouting and came over to see what was going on, and then saw that some meemaw and peepaw had cornered a kid, and he told them to back off and leave me alone. They tried to explain their side of the story to him, and he tried to tell them I was a child who didn't work there, which I don't think they fully believed. He offered to take down the guitar for them, which they accepted. I went outside to wait for my mom, and for every lesson from there on out, I would immediately go outside as soon as I was finished. How do you mistake a little kid wearing some little kid outfit for an employee? Maybe these people need to get new glasses. Our next story is from Glum Regret 3985. I am visiting Ireland from America, and I was in Galway today in a McDonald's bathroom, just trying to take a dump as one does on a toilet, and I hear a knock on my stall, accompanied by a very British, "How does one get out of the toilet?" Sorry for the terrible British accent. I'm sure I offended a few people with that, but that's okay. She keeps knocking on the stall, and I assume she's trying to find a free stall, so I say, "I'm in here." She asks me if I work here. Lady, I'm in a bathroom stall. Why would you assume that? Okay, do you think that workers don't go to the bathroom? That's a little weird. Anyway, and I say no, and that I'll be out in a minute, as I'm trying to pull my pants up to go help this very confused old lady. I get out, and she's like, "I don't know how to get out. The door's locked." I go over to the door, pull the handle, and it opens. It's one of those push-pull situations, you know? The lady goes, "Oh, thank you. It's my first time here." "It's your first time? Where? On Earth? In a bathroom? In a room with a door?" She left, and I just took a second to say, "The door. It's the door that's right there," to myself in the mirror, because that's what I wanted to say to her. And then I left. Very confusing interaction. Okay, to be fair, everyone has pushed a pull door and pulled a push door, so there can be that confusion, but turns out this lady can't even find the door to do that with. But, you know, as you get older, it happens. I'm about 25 now, and I have definitely noticed my brain already starting to deteriorate. I am not looking forward to my 30s. And our last story is from Substantial Kid Here. What were we just talking about? I think it says Substantial Kid Here. Anyway, this happened last weekend, and I'm still laughing about it. I went to a garden center to buy one plant, just one, a little pothos for my kitchen window. I was wearing my green jacket because it was chilly, and apparently that jacket is the same exact shade as the staff uniforms there. Oh, playing a dangerous game I see here. I didn't know this until it was too late. I'm standing in the succulent section, just minding my business, as people do in the succulent section, looking at a tiny cactus, when a woman walks up to me holding two plants and goes, "Excuse me, which one of these is better for low light?" Oh, well, I would say probably the Sony FX3. Wait a minute, wrong subject. I said, "Oh, I don't actually work here," but she just kept talking like she didn't hear me. She said her sunroom doesn't get much sun, which, fair point, weird problem. Yeah, what kind of sunroom is that? It's a dark, it's a moon room? I don't know. Anyway, she wanted something that won't die in a week, like the last one. At this point, I don't know what came over me, but instead of just walking away, I looked at her 2 plants and said, honestly, this one will survive better. Succulents like a little bit of neglect. I have no idea if that's actually true. I just read it on a mug once. It is true, kind of. Like, obviously, still take care of them, but succulents do not like to be overwatered. They can get root rot, and yeah, overwatering is one of the worst things you can do to a lot of plants, especially potted plants. So don't overwater, but also don't underwater and completely dehydrate them. It's a fine balance. She looked so relieved and said, finally, someone who knows what they're talking about. The guy at the register just shrugged at me. Then another guy joined in and asked me about fertilizer for tomato plants. I told him, more sun, less water, with the confidence of a man who has never grown a tomato in his life. By this point, I had somehow gathered a small crowd of 3 customers around me in the succulent aisle, all asking me plant questions like I was hosting a seminar. Then an actual employee walked by, saw the little cloud, and said, wait, are you covering for Denise? I didn't know we scheduled someone else today. Oh my gosh, even the employees are giving you the same treatment. Goodness. I finally admitted that I was just a customer who wanted to buy a $4 pothos, and I'd been standing there for 20 minutes, accidentally running a plant care class. The employee laughed so hard she had to lean on a shelf and said, honestly, you're better at this than half of our staff. Want a job? I said, no, but I did walk out with 4 plants I never intended to buy. Somehow, being mistaken for an expert made me buy more stuff than the actual expert could have sold me. All right, and with that fun little story there at the end, that concludes our Reddit stories for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those things, or don't. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.